The most powerful use of your mind is not getting everything you want. It is no longer using your thoughts against yourself. And once you truly understand that, your whole life begins to soften and strengthen at the same time. Because so many people have been taught that a powerful mind is a mind that pushes, controls, predicts, defends, and never stops moving. A mind that can outthink pain. A mind that can outwork fear. A mind that can stay 10 steps ahead of disappointment. And perhaps you have lived that way for a very long time, believing that if you could only think better, faster, smarter, harder, then finally you would feel safe inside your own life. And yet here you are, still carrying heaviness, still waking up with thoughts already running, still trying to rest while your mind replays old conversations, unfinished fears, ancient disappointments, and the quiet ache of not feeling fully at peace with yourself. This is important to hear. That does not mean you have failed. It means you have been using a sacred instrument without being shown how to hold it gently. Your mind is powerful, more powerful than you may have ever allowed yourself to admit. It shapes what you notice. It shapes what you expect. It shapes what you repeat. It shapes what your body believes is familiar. It shapes the story your nervous system lives inside of every single day. And when that power is unconscious, it can keep recreating the same suffering in different clothes. You have felt this, haven't you? The same fear with a different name. The same insecurity in a new relationship. The same old belief of not being enough appearing in your work, your body, your money, your aging, your dreams, your voice. It is not because life is punishing you. It is because the mind repeats what it has not yet been taught to release with love. Let that settle for a moment. There is nothing casual unkai about the thoughts you return to again and again. They are not harmless background noise. They are instructions. They are atmosphere. They are patterns of emotional permission. They are little prayers, even when they are painful ones. Especially when they are painful ones. Because whatever the mind repeats with feeling, the body begins to prepare for. The heart begins to organize around. The life begins to echo. And yes, I said prayers. Not because every thought is sacred in content, but because every repeated thought becomes an offering of energy. It becomes a direction, a signal, a planting. Some thoughts plant peace, some plant shame, some plant possibility, some plant fear so deeply that you start to call the fear your personality. You start to think, this is just who I am. This is how I've always been. This is how I will always be. But your heart already knows this, that repetition is not identity. A thought you have had for 20 years is still only a thought. A belief you inherited before you had language is still only a belief. A pattern that feels ancient in your body is still a pattern. Powerful, yes. Influential, yes. But permanent? No. Sacredly true? No, you are more than what your mind learned to repeat in order to survive. So today, I want to share something with you that can change the way you live inside yourself forever. Not by forcing your mind into silence, not by pretending painful thoughts do not exist, not by covering fear with glittering words you do not yet believe, and not by asking you to become someone else. I'm going to speak to the part of you that is tired of fighting your own mind and ready to begin leading it with wisdom, because that is the shift, not domination, not suppression, not endless correction. Wise leadership. The mind is a beautiful servant and a terrible master, as many traditions have said in different ways. But what is often missing is the compassionate middle space, the understanding that your mind is not your enemy when it spirals. It is not a problem to punish. It is often a frightened, conditioned, overburdened part of you trying to protect you with outdated information. And when you meet that with more violence, more criticism, more pressure to think positive, you only deepen the wound. How many times have you done that to yourself? A fearful thought appears, and immediately another voice says, "Stop thinking that. You should know better. Why are you still like this? Haven't you healed this already? What is wrong with you?" So now there are two pains instead of one, the original fear and the shame for having it, the old wound and the new self-attack. The mind becomes both the source of the ache and the weapon used against it. No wonder you're tired. No wonder your body feels tight before the day has even begun. No wonder peace sometimes feels far away, even when nothing outwardly terrible is happening. You may not be living in immediate danger anymore, and yet if your mind keeps rehearsing danger, the body does not always know the difference. It listens, it prepares, it tightens, it stays on alert. It adapts to the inner climate you keep providing. This hasn't been easy for you, and I want to honor that. Because many people carry private suffering in the mind that no one else ever sees. They smile, they function, they respond, they achieve, they make dinner, answer emails, care for people, pay bills, keep promises, show up. And all the while, there is a constant private commentary moving underneath everything. Not enough. Too late. Too much. Too old. Too broken. Too behind. Too sensitive. Too visible. Not visible enough. What if this goes wrong? What if they leave? What if I fail? What if this never changes? You're not imagining this. That kind of inner language changes the quality of a life. And maybe you have already tried to change it. Maybe you've stood in front of a mirror and said beautiful affirmations. Maybe you've written in journals and whispered hopeful things into dark rooms. Maybe part of you felt relief and another part felt resistance. That does not mean affirmations do not work. It means the mind cannot be bullied into trust any more than the heart can be yelled into safety. Here's what I've come to understand. The mind changes most deeply not through pressure, but through repetition wrapped in compassion. Through truth introduced gently enough that the body does not reject it. through thoughts that do not merely sound good, but feel possible, through language that opens space instead of creating more war. A seed does not grow because the soil is screamed at. It grows because conditions become receptive, and you are allowed to become receptive. You are allowed to stop managing your inner world like a battlefield. You are allowed to stop treating every fearful thought like a personal failure. You are allowed to notice what the mind is doing without becoming what it is doing. That one shift alone can begin to transform everything. The thought appears, and instead of saying, "This is me," you begin to say, "This is a thought passing through me. This is a habit. This is old wiring. This is pain asking to be met differently. This is not the whole truth of who I am." Can you feel the difference? One way of relating collapses you into the thought. The other creates a little breathing room, a little sacred distance. And in that distance, wisdom can enter, choice can enter, love can enter. Not instantly, not perfectly, but enough to interrupt what used to continue automatically, enough to let new pathways begin. Because the mind is powerful, yes, but it is also trainable. Not trainable like a machine, trainable like a garden, like attention, like a river being redirected over time, like a language you become fluent in through use. Every thought is not equally important. Every mental habit is not equally worthy of your devotion. Some thoughts are echoes, some are injuries, some are inherited, some are rehearsed fears dressed as intuition, some are true guidance. Part of wisdom is learning the difference, and that learning changes your whole life. The life you are living right now, she is shaped not only by what has happened to you, but by what your mind has kept saying about what happened. Two people can live through loss and carry it differently. Two people can make mistakes and interpret them differently. Two people can hear criticism and metabolize it differently. The event matters. Of course it does. We do not deny pain, but the meaning the mind creates around the event determines so much of how long the suffering stays alive. If your mind says, "This happened because I am unworthy," then the wound deepens. If your mind says, "This happened because life is over," then the future narrows. If your mind says, "I always ruin things, I never get chosen, I cannot trust myself, I am too damaged," then every new moment arrives already tinted by an old conclusion. You begin meeting life through a script you did not consciously choose, and that script can feel like fate. But it is not fate, it is practiced interpretation. That may be one of the most liberating things you ever hear, because if it is practiced interpretation, it can become conscious interpretation. And if it becomes conscious, it can become changeable. Not overnight, perhaps, not without tenderness, not without grieving what your mind has been carrying, but changeable, yes, absolutely. Somewhere deep inside, you've always known that words matter. You've felt how one sentence can ruin a day. You've felt how one kind voice can soften a whole week. You've felt how a criticism stays in the body longer than it should. You've felt how encouragement can make you stand a little taller. Now imagine that same principle multiplied by the 1,000 silent sentences your mind speaks every week. That is power. Quiet power, invisible power, creative power. And because it is creative, it must be used wisely. That word wisely matters so much here, because many teachings about the mind focus only on power, not wisdom. They tell you that your thoughts create, and they stop there. But without wisdom, that message can make sensitive people feel blamed for everything they have endured. Without wisdom, it becomes another burden, another way to judge yourself, another reason to monitor every thought in fear. That is not healing. That is more control. Wisdom says something softer and truer. Wisdom says your thoughts matter, and so does your humanity. Wisdom says, yes, the mind is creative, and it is also conditioned. Wisdom says you are responsible for the inner climate you cultivate, and you are not at fault for every storm that first formed there. Wisdom says the goal is not perfection, but relationship. Conscious relationship with the mind, loving leadership, steady practice, gentle persistence. The mind you have today was shaped by so much more than choice alone. It was shaped by the voices around you when you were small, by the emotional tone of your home, by what was praised, by what was punished, by how love was given or withheld, by what pain was named and what pain was silenced, by family beliefs about safety, money, aging, success, bodies, emotions, illness, need, conflict, worth, ines, and rest, by school, by religion, by heartbreak, by culture, by comparison, by disappointments that taught you to expect less, by moments when your trust was broken and your mind decided never again. This is why self-compassion matters so deeply in this journey. Because if you try to change your mind without honoring how it was formed, you will only create another layer of hardness. You will turn healing into performance. You will demand immediate transformation from a system that learned caution over years, perhaps decades. You will wonder why change feels slow, not realizing that your mind is not resisting your freedom because it hates you. It is often resisting because old parts of you still believe familiar pain is safer than unfamiliar peace. Have you noticed that? Sometimes a beautiful new thought enters, and something in you tenses. You hear, "I am worthy of love," and immediately the mind brings evidence against it. You say, "I trust life," and fear rises. You whisper, "I am safe now," and the body feels unconvinced. That is not proof you are doing it wrong. That is proof that transformation is more than reciting words. It is teaching the whole being to receive what has not felt believable before. This is why gentleness is not weakness. It is strategy. If the mind has spent years expecting attack, then even a loving truth may need to arrive softly. like morning light entering a room where someone has been sleeping a long time. Too much force and the whole system contracts. Enough softness and awareness begins to open on its own. So let us begin here with one of the most life-changing distinctions you may ever make. A thought is not a command. A thought is not a prophecy. A thought is not your identity. A thought is not always intuition. A thought is not always wisdom. A thought is a movement of mental energy shaped by memory, conditioning, sensation, emotion, and focus. Some thoughts are useful, some are noise, some are guidance, some are habit, some are ancient leftovers with fresh makeup on. And part of using your mind wisely is learning not to bow before every thought that enters the room. This alone can save you years of suffering, because many people live as if every thought deserves immediate belief. The mind says, "They're disappointed in me," and the heart sinks. The mind says, "I'll never recover from this," and the future closes. The mind says, "I'm too old to begin again," and possibility disappears. The mind says, "I always mess things up," and identity shrinks around an old wound. The mind says, "Something bad is coming," and the nervous system prepares for impact. But what if you paused? What if you learned to say, "Thank you, mind, for trying to protect me, and I am not going to believe everything you offer"? What if you became the loving witness instead of the frightened follower? What if awareness sat down where panic used to sit? What if discernment took the wheel from repetition? Something in you recognizes this possibility already. You have had moments, even if brief, where you saw clearly that the mind was telling a story and not the whole truth. Maybe after calming down, maybe in nature, maybe in prayer, maybe in the middle of crying when suddenly a deeper knowing rose beneath all the noise. Maybe you heard yourself think, "This is fear talking, this is an old pattern, this is not the deepest truth of me." Those moments matter. They show you that awareness is already alive in you. You are not trying to invent wisdom from scratch. You are remembering it, and remembrance changes everything, because the mind is only one aspect of your being. Powerful, yes, but not supreme. There is also your deeper awareness, your heart intelligence, your intuitive knowing, your embodied truth, your spirit, your capacity to witness, choose, bless, and redirect. When the mind stops pretending to be the only authority in the room, the rest of your wisdom can finally speak. That may be what you have been longing for all along. Not a stronger mind in the old sense, not a mind that can think circles around pain, but a mind that knows how to kneel before truth, a mind that serves love, a mind that stops replaying injury as if repetition were devotion, a mind that becomes a place of healing rather than a hallway of accusation. Your sensitivity is a gift. I want to say that early, because many people with powerful minds are also deeply sensitive souls. You feel everything. You think deeply. You notice subtle changes in people, rooms, moods, and undercurrents. You can sense what is unsaid. You can imagine 10 outcomes at once. And if that sensitivity is not guided with wisdom, it can become overthinking, hypervigilance, people-pleasing, exhaustion, and private fear. But the sensitivity itself is not the problem. It is your gift. It is one of the ways life speaks through you. What needs healing is not your sensitivity, but the fearful interpretation wrapped around it. This is where we begin to reframe things. You are not too much because your mind is active. You are not broken because thoughts come fast. You are not weak because you have been affected by what you have lived through. And you are not spiritually failing because your mind still wanders into old territory. None of that makes you less whole. It simply means you are human, and your mind has been doing what minds do when they are untrained, overwhelmed, or wounded. The invitation is not to become less human. The invitation is to become more conscious, more watchful of what you feed, more careful with what you repeat, more discerning about what gets your loyalty. More honest about the cost of living in mental environments that do not honor your worth. Because every repeated thought becomes a room inside you. Some rooms are bright and breathable. Some rooms are cramped with old conclusions. Some rooms still hold the voices of people who never truly saw you. Some rooms are filled with pressure to prove, to earn, to shrink, to fix, to avoid, to never need. Some rooms say, work harder, don't rest, don't trust, don't hope too much, expect disappointment. Be careful, stay small, stay guarded. And perhaps you have been living in those rooms so long that you forgot there are other rooms available. Rooms of trust, rooms of self-respect, rooms of gentleness, rooms where mistakes do not become identity, rooms where rest is not guilt, rooms where your body is not an enemy, rooms where age is not decline but ripening, rooms where your future is not decided by your past, rooms where you speak to yourself the way love would speak. This is what it means to use the mind wisely, to notice the room you are in and choose whether you want to stay there. Now, choice here does not always mean instant exit. Sometimes it simply means opening a window. Sometimes it means bringing one new sentence into a room full of old air. Sometimes it means sitting in the dark with a candle rather than demanding full sunlight all at once. That matters. Small changes in mental atmosphere matter. A single new thought repeated kindly can become a door. I remember someone once sharing that she had spent years waking each morning with the thought, I have to get through this day. It was automatic. She didn't even realize how deeply that sentence had become her normal climate. No wonder her body woke already braced. No wonder joy felt far away. No wonder life felt like endurance instead of belonging. One morning, after doing deep inner work, she noticed the sentence and softly changed it. Not to something grand, not to a polished performance, simply to, I wonder how I can support myself today. That one shift began changing everything, because the mind heard not threat, but partnership. You deserve that kind of partnership within yourself. And perhaps that is one of the deepest wounds modern life creates. People are taught to extract from themselves, pressure themselves, criticize themselves, improve themselves, outperform themselves, but not to partner with themselves, not to listen inwardly with respect, not to ask the body what it needs, not to speak to the heart with patience, not to guide the mind with kindness. So even healing can become another project of self-improvement instead of a return to relationship. No more of that, not here. Here we remember that transformation is relational. The mind shifts most deeply when it feels safe enough to loosen its old grip. The heart opens when it is no longer mocked for hurting. The body relaxes when it stops receiving constant signals of inner danger. Life responds differently when your inner language begins blessing what it used to condemn. And that blessing is not fantasy, it is practice. To bless something does not mean to deny its difficulty. It means to meet it with a quality of consciousness that allows new possibilities to emerge. You can bless your body without pretending every day feels easy in it. You can bless your finances without denying what needs attention. You can bless your past without calling painful things good. You can bless your emotions without drowning in them. And you can bless your mind by refusing to make it an arena of constant self-attack. That is wise power, the kind that heals, the kind that ripples, the kind that changes not only how you feel, but how you perceive, choose, respond, relate, and create. Because when the mind changes, it is not just the thoughts that change. Your posture changes. Your boundaries change. Your capacity for receiving changes. Your energy changes. What you tolerate changes. What you notice changes. What you say yes to changes. What you recover from changes. The whole architecture of life begins rearranging itself around a different inner conversation. So let me ask you something gently. What conversation has your mind been allowing to continue? Not just once in a while, not just on difficult days, the deeper one, the baseline one, the private one, the one that appears when no one is around, the one that speaks first in moments of uncertainty. Is it kind? Is it punishing? Is it hopeful? Is it suspicious? Is it tired? Is it demanding? Is it ancient? Is it yours? Sometimes the most healing realization is not, I have negative thoughts. It is, I have been loyal to thoughts that do not deserve my loyalty. That is a holy moment of awakening, because loyalty is powerful. What you remain loyal to, you strengthen. What you continue to revisit, you deepen. What you rehearse, you become more available to. So if you have been loyal to criticism, to scarcity, to self-doubt, to fear of rejection, to the expectation of loss, to the belief that you must earn rest or prove your worth, then no wonder those patterns feel strong. You have been feeding them with attention, perhaps without even knowing it. But attention can be reclaimed, and reclaimed attention is one of the greatest forms of power you possess. Where attention goes, energy gathers. Where energy gathers, patterns strengthen. Where patterns strengthen, life begins repeating itself. This is why your mind is so powerful. Not because every random thought magically controls the universe, but because sustained attention organizes your inner and outer life in profound ways. What you dwell in, you build. What you repeatedly imagine with feeling, you practice. What you practice internally becomes easier to enact externally. This can work for you, and it can work against you. If you dwell in resentment, your face carries it. If you dwell in fear, your choices bend around it. If you dwell in unworthiness, love feels suspicious. If you dwell in lack, even abundance can feel temporary. If you dwell in possibility, the future opens. If you dwell in gratitude, the nervous system softens. If you dwell in self-respect, your boundaries become clearer. If you dwell in trust, life becomes easier to receive. Do you see it? Your mind is not just narrating your life, it is rehearsing your way of meeting it. That is why wisdom is needed. Because if you discover that attention is powerful and then turn that discovery into frantic self-monitoring, you miss the point. You do not need to become afraid of your own mind. You need to become intimate with it, curious about it, honest about its habits, selective about what you continue rehearsing, willing to redirect again and again with patience. That again and again matters. Healing is not one perfect moment. It is 1,000 loving returns. A fearful thought comes. You notice, you breathe. You choose not to build a house inside it. Another one comes. You notice. You soften your jaw. You let your shoulders drop. You answer with something truer. Not because you are pretending, because you are practicing. This happens over and over. Slowly, the old path grows less automatic. Slowly, the body learns that interruption is possible. Slowly, peace becomes less foreign. And yes, slowly is still holy. In a world obsessed with instant transformation, slow healing can feel unimpressive. But your soul knows better. A tree does not apologize for rings. A river does not rush its own shaping. Dawn does not arrive all at once. The most lasting inner changes often happen quietly, through repetition, through gentleness, through faithful practice that the world may never see, but your life will absolutely reveal. So let us go deeper now into the real work of using the mind wisely. The first thing to understand is that the mind loves familiarity more than it loves truth. That may explain more of your life than you realize. Familiar thoughts feel believable not because they are accurate, but because they are repeated. Familiar emotional states feel natural not because they are healthy, but because the body has adapted to them. Familiar suffering can feel like home simply because you have lived there long enough. If you have been feeling small for years, confidence may feel suspicious. If you have lived in anxiety, peace may feel empty at first. If you have expected criticism, kindness may feel confusing. If you have believed love must be earned, ease may feel undeserved. If you have organized your identity around struggle, joy may feel strangely disorienting. This is why new thoughts need time. You are not only introducing language, you are introducing a new home, a new emotional environment, a new frequency of being, and the old system may not trust it right away. That is all right. Trust is built through consistency, through congruence, through the repeated experience of not being abandoned by yourself. What if I told you that one of the greatest powers of the mind is not in intensity, but in consistency? Not one dramatic affirmation screamed at the mirror, not one vision board made in a burst of hope, not one breakthrough followed by a month of neglect. Consistency. The same loving truth, gently repeated. The same conscious interruption. The same return to what supports life. The same willingness to guide your thoughts back toward dignity, worth, trust, and possibility. That is where the real transformation lives. Because repetition built the old patterns, and repetition builds the new ones. The difference is that now repetition becomes conscious, intentional, aligned, loving. You are no longer repeating the language of injury by default. You are repeating the language of healing by design. And design is not manipulation. It is stewardship. Think of how carefully you might tend a garden. You do not scream at weeds. You do not shame a seed for not blooming faster. You do not curse the soil for remembering winter. You tend, you water, you notice light. You remove what chokes growth. You create conditions. That is wise relationship. That is how the mind responds best as well. So what are the weeds in your inner garden? Perhaps they sound like this: I am running out of time. Nothing ever changes for me. I can't trust myself. I'm too damaged to be fully loved. If I rest, everything will fall apart. I have to do more to deserve peace. My body is failing me. My best years are behind me. People always leave. If I let go, something bad will happen. Those thoughts may feel deeply personal, but many of them are simply old protective conclusions. Your mind learned them somewhere, repeated them somewhere, strengthened them somewhere. They are patterns, not destiny. And once you begin recognizing them as patterns, you loosen their authority. The next thing to understand is this: thoughts have emotional consequences, and emotions have physical consequences. The mind does not live in isolation. It is in constant conversation with the body. When you think a thought often enough, the body begins to expect the chemistry associated with it. This is why certain mental habits feel almost physical. They are. They become states. Your muscles know them. Your breath knows them. Your sleep knows them. Your appetite knows them. Your immune system knows them. Your posture knows them. This is why changing the mind with cruelty rarely works. The body hears cruelty too. So if you try to heal by attacking your thoughts, the body still receives attack. If you shame yourself for spiraling, the body still receives danger. If you force positivity that does not feel real, the body often tightens against the incongruence. Healing happens more deeply when the body can feel through tone and repetition that a new relationship is unfolding. You might notice your shoulders softening as you hear this. You do not have to win against yourself. You do not have to conquer your mind. You are here to form a new alliance with it, to become someone whose inner voice no longer recreates the original wound. That is sacred work. And because it is sacred, it asks for honesty. You cannot use the mind wisely if you do not know what it has been saying. Many people want the result of inner peace without the intimacy of self-observation. But observation is where freedom begins. You have to hear the sentence before you can choose whether it belongs in your future. You have to notice the reflex before you can redirect it. You have to become aware of the default climate before you can cultivate a different one. So start listening, not obsessively, not fearfully, lovingly. Listen in the morning. What is the first story the mind tells when you wake? Listen when something goes wrong. What is your immediate interpretation? Listen when you make a mistake. What tone appears? Listen when you receive praise. Do you let it in or do you deflect? Listen when you rest. Do you feel guilt? Listen when you think about aging, change, money, love, your body, your future. The mind reveals its deepest loyalties through repetition. And once you know those loyalties, you can begin choosing anew. Here is a reframe that can change your practice entirely. Instead of asking, "How do I stop thinking negative thoughts?" ask, "What thought would truly support life here?" That is a different energy. One is war, the other is wisdom. One is suppression, the other is guidance. One is focused on eliminating what you hate, the other is focused on cultivating what heals. For example, if the mind says, "I always ruin everything," the supporting thought may not be, "I am perfect and never make mistakes." Your system may reject that immediately. A wiser thought might be, "I am allowed to learn without turning every mistake into identity." Can you feel how that opens space? Or if the mind says, "I'll never get through this," perhaps the supporting thought is, "I do not have to see the whole path to take one loving step." If the mind says, "I'm not enough," perhaps the wiser thought is, "My worth is not on trial in this moment." Truth that supports life. That is what we are after. Not polished slogans, not spiritual performance, not high-sounding language disconnected from the body, supporting truth. The kind that helps your breath deepen a little, the kind that makes your nervous system less defensive, the kind that invites your heart to unclench. This is also where mirror work becomes so powerful when it is done with sincerity. Looking into your own eyes and speaking truth is not magic because of the mirror alone. It is powerful because it interrupts dissociation. It asks you to become present with yourself, to stop speaking about yourself as if you are an object to manage, and begin speaking to yourself as a living being worthy of tenderness. The mirror says, "Stay here. Don't disappear from your own healing. Don't talk over yourself. Meet yourself." That is brave, especially if you have spent years avoiding your own gaze. Especially if your face carries stories you have not fully made peace with. especially if aging has stirred grief, especially if your body has changed, especially if shame has been one of your oldest companions. To look at yourself and say, I am willing to learn a kinder truth about you now. That is not small. That is revolutionary. Your sensitivity is a gift. The very sensitivity that has made your inner world intense can also make healing more powerful. Because once a loving truth begins to land, you feel that deeply too. Once self-trust begins to grow, you notice. Once gentleness becomes normal, the whole system responds. The same depth that once amplified pain can become depth that amplifies healing. That sensitivity you've been trying to manage, to tone down, to hide from the world. It's your gift. It only needs wiser leadership. Let us talk now about one of the most misunderstood uses of the mind: affirmations. Some people have been disappointed by them because they were taught to use affirmations like denial. Say the opposite of what hurts until it disappears. But that is not wise use. That is often bypassing. The deeper function of an affirmation is not to lie to your pain. It is to introduce a new pattern of truth with enough repetition and feeling that it becomes livable. An affirmation works best when it is both kind and credible enough for your system to approach. That may mean starting smaller than you think. Instead of, I am overflowing with joy every moment of my life, perhaps you begin with, I am willing to create more peace in the way I speak to myself. Instead of, I completely love every part of my body, perhaps you begin with, I am learning to speak to my body with more respect. Instead of, I trust everything perfectly, perhaps you begin with, it is becoming safer for me to soften my grip. Do you hear the difference? There is no weakness in gradual truth. There is wisdom there. Because the point is not to impress the mind, it is to re-educate it. And re-education takes repetition. It takes tone. It takes patience. It takes returning to the same inner path enough times that the grass begins to bend in a new direction. That is why people often stop too soon. They say the affirmation did not work, when in truth, the old pattern had decades of practice and the new one had 3 days. Beloved, you are not trying to whisper louder than a lifetime in one afternoon. You are building trust over time, and trust is built by consistency that feels safe. One of the most powerful things you can do is pair a supportive thought with a bodily cue, a hand on the heart, a slower breath, a softened belly, a hand over the throat if your voice has been silenced, a touch to the face, a pause before reacting. Why? Because you are teaching the body that the new thought is not abstract. It is lived. It is accompanied by safety. It is being welcomed into the nervous system, not thrown at it from a distance. Every thought you repeat becomes a place inside you that your body learns to live in. If that place is criticism, the body contracts. If that place is urgency, the body rushes. If that place is fear, the body prepares. If that place is tenderness, the body softens. If that place is trust, the body begins to exhale in new ways. This is why the mind is so powerful. It is constantly building internal homes. The question is whether the homes it is building are livable. Have you been living in a thought pattern that feels like punishment? Maybe it is the punishment of never arriving, the punishment of always needing to improve, the punishment of comparing your timeline to everyone else's, the punishment of carrying an old shame as if it were a moral debt, the punishment of speaking to yourself in tones you would never use on someone you love, the punishment of expecting betrayal before intimacy has even had a chance to breathe. No more. Not because you are suddenly perfect, because you are worthy of a wiser way, worthy now, not later, not when you fix everything, not when your life looks different, not when your body changes, not when someone else approves. Now, here, in the middle of your healing, in the middle of your learning, in the middle of your humanness, worthy of an inner voice that supports life. Let us go deeper still into how the mind holds identity. This matters because many thoughts are powerful not only because they repeat, but because they attach to who you think you are. It is one thing to think, I'm having a hard day. It is another to think, I am a hard person to love. It is one thing to think, I feel uncertain. It is another to think, I am not capable. It is one thing to say, I'm learning. It is another to say, I never get it right. Identity language is especially powerful because the mind treats it like foundation. So be very careful with the sentences that begin with, I am. Those words open sacred space. Whatever follows begins shaping self-perception. I am exhausted may be true in a moment, but if repeated as identity without care, it can become self-definition. I am broken. I am behind. I am difficult. I am not enough. I am too sensitive. I am unlucky. I am doomed to repeat this. Those are not just descriptions. They are invitations to inhabit a certain self. Use I am wisely. What if I am became a doorway to blessing instead of accusation? I am willing to heal. I am learning to trust myself. I am not my oldest fear. I am allowed to begin again. I am worthy of gentleness. I am becoming more conscious of the thoughts I live inside. I am creating a kinder home within. I am here now, and that matters. These kinds of statements do not deny reality. They direct it. They orient it. They plant new identity in fertile ground. And identity matters because behavior follows identity more than intention alone. If you identify as unworthy, you will unconsciously accept less. If you identify as burdensome, you will hide need. If you identify as resilient, you will recover differently. If you identify as worthy of care, you will choose differently. If you identify as someone learning peace, your mind begins noticing choices that support peace. This is not vanity. It is architecture, inner architecture. What kind of self have your thoughts been building? If that question stirs emotion, let it. Sometimes grief is part of this process. The grief of realizing how harshly you have been spoken to from within. The grief of seeing how long you have carried someone else's voice. The grief of recognizing that your mind has kept replaying wounds you did not deserve. Grief is not failure. It is honesty meeting compassion. And in that meeting, something begins to heal. I want to speak for a moment to the part of you that is afraid of letting go of negative thinking because it believes negativity keeps you safe. This is very common and rarely spoken about clearly enough. Some people fear that if they stop worrying, they will become careless. If they stop criticizing themselves, they will stop growing. If they stop expecting loss, they will be blindsided. If they stop bracing, life will catch them unprepared. But has all that bracing truly made you free? Has all that self-criticism truly made you peaceful? Has all that anticipatory worry actually prevented pain? Or has it simply made you suffer many times before anything even happened? Here's what I've come to understand. Fear is not the same as wisdom. Criticism is not the same as discipline. Bracing is not the same as preparedness. Suspicion is not the same as discernment. Many people confuse harshness with intelligence because harshness kept them alert. But alert is not the same as alive. You are allowed to prepare without poisoning the present. You are allowed to be wise without being cruel. You are allowed to be discerning without expecting the worst. You are allowed to care deeply without carrying catastrophe in your mouth all day. This is mature spiritual power. Not passivity, not fantasy, not pretending everything is wonderful. Mature power. The kind that can look honestly at life and still choose not to become a factory of self-inflicted suffering. That is wisdom. And wisdom grows every time you refuse to rehearse what harms you. Not every fear deserves your future. That phrase may want to stay with you. Write it down if you need to. Let it live in your rooms. Let it interrupt old habits. Because so much suffering comes from giving future space to fears that have not earned it. The mind imagines, repeats, dramatizes, prepares, and then the body lives as though the imagined future is already here. The future gets crowded by possibilities that do not belong there. Not every fear deserves your future. Some fears are invitations to practical care. Yes, honor those. Some are signals to set boundaries. Some are reminders to slow down. Some are old alarms ringing in safe rooms. Some are inherited anxieties passing through. Some are stories the mind tells when it does not know how to rest. Wisdom learns to sort. Wisdom does not obey all fear equally. This sorting becomes easier when you ask a few gentle questions. Is this thought true or merely familiar? Is this thought helping me respond well or only helping me suffer more? Does this thought expand my dignity or shrink it? Would I speak this way to someone I love? What is this thought asking me to believe about myself? And what thought would support life more wisely here? Those questions alone can begin changing the inner atmosphere. Now let us talk about forgiveness, because the mind becomes very powerful around old injuries. If the mind keeps replaying an old hurt, it keeps the event emotionally current. This does not mean you should forgive before you are ready. We do not use spirituality to override truth, but it does mean that whatever the mind rehearses, it continues embodying. Resentment may feel justified, and often it is understandable. But if the mind makes a permanent home there, it extracts a cost from the body and the heart. Forgiveness, in its wisest form, is not saying the pain did not matter. It is deciding the pain does not get to keep colonizing your inner world. It is refusing to let another person's action continue shaping your daily chemistry through repetition. It is saying, I will not keep drinking this to prove I was wounded. I know I was wounded. I honor that. And I am now choosing what gets to live in me. That is power used wisely. The mind can keep wounds alive. It can also help release them through new meaning, through perspective, through self-blessing, through conscious interruption, through prayer, through compassion, through truth repeated often enough that what once defined you becomes only part of your story. And perhaps that is what freedom really is. Not never being hurt, but no longer allowing hurt to become the language through which you interpret everything else. Your mind can do that. It can stop renewing old pain as if it were rent owed forever. It can stop telling the same exhausted story in every new room. It can stop making old disappointment the template for every future hope. It can stop offering your body the chemistry of fear every morning before breakfast. It can become a vessel for healing, a vessel for blessing, a vessel for new life, but only when you begin choosing with awareness. Let us turn now toward the real-world places where this matters most: your body, your relationships, your work, your aging, and your dreams. In the body, the mind becomes powerful through interpretation. The body changes, hurts, ages, signals, shifts. And the mind says something about those changes. Sometimes it says, my body is betraying me. Sometimes it says, I am falling apart. Sometimes it says, I am unattractive now. Sometimes it says, it is too late. These thoughts do not create all bodily realities, of course. We stay grounded and honor professional care where needed, but they absolutely influence how safely and lovingly you live inside your body. They influence stress. They influence shame. They influence whether the body feels partnered with or abandoned. What if your body needs less criticism and more listening? What if healing is supported not only by treatments and routines, but by the quality of consciousness you bring to your own flesh? What if your cells are listening to your tone? This does not mean blame. It means relationship. It means the body is not merely a machine to fix, but a living companion, asking for respect. The mind can become a healing partner here. Through phrases like, "My body deserves kindness as it moves through change." Through, "I am learning to trust what my body tells me." Through, "I choose thoughts that support my well-being." Through the refusal to make age an insult. Through gratitude that is sincere enough to be felt. In relationships, the mind becomes powerful through expectation. If the mind expects abandonment, it interprets distance quickly. If it expects criticism, it hears threat easily. If it expects to be too much, it hides truth. If it expects to be unseen, it stops asking. These expectations do not remain in the mind alone. They become behavior, tone, timing, withdrawal, attachment, silence, over-explaining, defensiveness, settling, holding back. So relationship healing is not only about finding better people. It is also about changing the thoughts you bring into intimacy. Do you enter a room already rehearsing rejection? Do you hear someone's delay and immediately translate it into disinterest? Do you apologize for existing before anyone has asked you to? Do you call your needs unreasonable before expressing them? These are mind patterns shaping relational reality, and you begin using your mind wisely. You begin interrupting them. You begin saying, "I do not need to abandon myself to stay connected. I can pause before assuming. I can ask instead of inventing. I can let care in. I can believe I am worthy of being met." At work, the mind becomes powerful through worth and fear. Many people live inside the thought, "I am only as valuable as what I produce." That thought creates endless pressure. The body becomes an engine. Rest feels dangerous. Mistakes feel catastrophic. Achievement never lands. No amount is enough because the mind is not measuring work. It is measuring worth through work, and that scale can never stabilize. Using the mind wisely here means separating identity from output. You can care deeply about your work without making productivity your religion. You can strive without self-violence. You can pursue excellence without making mistakes a referendum on your worth. You can let success be beautiful without letting it become the only place you feel real. The wiser mind says, "I bring value beyond performance. I am allowed to work without worshiping pressure. Rest restores the very life I want to offer." In aging, the mind becomes powerful through meaning. If the mind says aging is loss, then every change feels like theft. If the mind says aging is wisdom, ripening, simplification, truth, then life feels different. This is not denial. It is meaning. And meaning shapes how you inhabit time. You may still grieve. You may still feel tenderness around change. But you do not have to translate every line, every transition, every ending into diminishment. What if you are not fading, but becoming more distilled? What if this season is not less beautiful, but beautiful differently? What if time is not only taking, but revealing? Your mind matters here, so much. It becomes the lens through which every season is interpreted. And in dreams, the mind becomes powerful through permission. How many dreams have been starved not by lack of talent, but by repeated thoughts of unworthiness, lateness, fear, or ridicule? How many callings have been muted because the mind kept saying, "Who do you think you are? It's too late. Someone else can do it better." Don't be foolish. Be practical. Stay where it's safe. Don't risk disappointment again. Beloved, the mind can imprison dreams, and it can liberate them. A wiser thought might not be, "I know exactly how this will unfold." It may simply be, "I do not need certainty to honor what is calling me." Or, "My longing is allowed to matter." Or, "I can take one step without knowing the whole future." Or, "It is not too late to become more honest with my life." Sometimes that is enough to begin. Let me open a loop here, because there is something else happening beneath all this that many teachers don't explain clearly enough. And it may be one of the most important parts of using your mind wisely. It has to do with emotional loyalty. We'll come to it in a moment, because first you need the context. The mind does not only repeat what is familiar cognitively, it often repeats what is emotionally loyal. This means you may stay attached to certain thought patterns because they feel like belonging. To think differently may unconsciously feel like betraying your family story, your old identity, the people who suffered before you, or the younger self who survived through those beliefs. This is why change can stir guilt. Have you ever noticed that feeling better can feel strangely disloyal? If your family bonded through worry, peace may feel like separation. If humility in your upbringing meant self-minimizing, confidence may feel arrogant. If scarcity was the language of home, abundance may feel unsafe. If suffering was how love was proven, ease may feel suspect. This is not always obvious, but it is powerful. And this is the piece many people miss. You may have noticed that certain thoughts return not because they are true, but because they are familiar, and familiarity can feel safer than freedom. But even deeper than familiarity, some thoughts feel like belonging. They keep you emotionally tied to an old system. And until you gently make peace with that, your mind may keep reaching backward even as your heart longs to move forward. So part of wise mental work is blessing the old loyalties before releasing them. You can say inwardly, "Thank you for helping me belong the best way I knew. Thank you for helping me survive. Thank you for helping me stay connected to what mattered then. And I am allowed to choose a new way now. I do not abandon love by healing. I do not betray where I came from by becoming more whole. I can honor the past without repeating its pain." Can you feel how important that is? That is how the mind relaxes enough to change. Not by being shamed for its old patterns, but by being understood, seen, blessed, released. This is mature healing. This is why compassion has to walk beside truth. Now remember what I mentioned about emotional loyalty? Here is the peace that changes everything. Once you realize that some painful thoughts are tied to unconscious belonging, you stop treating their return as proof of failure. You begin seeing them as invitations to deepen your loyalty to your own healing. Every time an old thought returns, you have a chance to say, I see the old bond here, and I choose love in a new form. I choose peace without guilt. I choose abundance without apology. I choose rest without betrayal. I choose self-respect without leaving anyone behind in my heart. That changes the emotional field of healing. No more ripping yourself out of the old story. No more forcing transformation through internal violence. You become someone who walks yourself across the threshold with reverence. Threshold is such a beautiful word for this journey, because that is what using the mind wisely often feels like. Standing between an old room and a new one, feeling the pull of habit, feeling the call of truth, not fully one thing anymore, not fully stabilized in the next. That middle place can feel tender, but it is holy. It means change is real. Do not despise the threshold. Do not mistake discomfort for wrongness. When the mind begins changing, there is often a period. Here, the old pain no longer fits, and the new peace is not yet fully embodied. That can feel unsteady. Keep going gently. Keep choosing wisely. Keep repeating what supports life. The nervous system learns through experience. The heart learns through safety. The mind learns through loving correction. And correction can be tender. So often people think correction must be sharp to be effective. But think of a loving hand guiding a child away from danger. Think of a gardener tying a young plant to support it. Think of someone adjusting a picture frame until it hangs straight. Correction is not cruelty, it is care in motion. You can correct your mind with that same energy. When the thought comes, I am so stupid, you can answer, no, my love, you are learning. When the thought comes, nothing will ever change. You can answer, change is often quiet before it becomes visible. When the thought comes, I always ruin love. You can answer, I am still learning what safe love feels like. When the thought comes, I am too old, you can answer, there is wisdom in me now that younger years could not have carried. That is correction in the language of love. And yes, language matters that much. The words you use internally become emotional architecture. This is why harsh humor at your own expense can matter more than people realize. Why chronic self-dismissal matters. Why saying I'm a mess every day matters. Why calling yourself lazy, ugly, broken, dramatic, hopeless, impossible, too much, unlovable matters. Words repeated become pathways. Pathways repeated become tendencies. Tendencies lived become realities. So bless your language. Cleanse it if you must. Not into something fake, into something worthy. As you become more watchful of the words you speak within yourself, you begin to notice that your inner language is either building a home for healing or rehearsing an old wound. There is very little neutral territory there. Even your jokes, even your muttered phrases, even the way you narrate small mistakes. It all counts, not in a frightening way, in a creative way, in a sacred way. This is where the practice becomes beautiful. Because instead of saying, I have to monitor every thought, you begin to say, I get to create a better home within myself. That is a very different energy. One is fear, the other is devotion. And devotion transforms more deeply than fear ever will. What are you devoted to inwardly? To peace, to self-respect, to possibility, to healing, to truth, to love that does not flatter but nourishes? Or are you still devoted, perhaps unconsciously, to proving old wounds correct? That is not a condemning question. It is a liberating one. Because if you can see the devotion, you can redirect it. This is where ritual can help. Morning thoughts matter especially because they often set the emotional tone of the day. If the first thought is dread, the day begins in contraction. If the first thought is criticism, the day begins under attack. So create a morning interruption. Before touching the phone, before entering demands, before revisiting yesterday. Place one thought like a candle in the room. Something like, today I will speak to myself as someone worth caring for. Or, I meet this day with more gentleness than yesterday. Or, life is allowed to support me too. Or simply, I am here and I am willing. Simplicity has power when repeated. Evening thoughts matter too, because the mind often rehearses unfinished stories at night. If the last thoughts are fear, the body sleeps in that chemistry. So before sleep, offer the mind a gentler landing. I have done enough for today. I release what is not mine to solve tonight. My body deserves rest. Tomorrow can arrive without me rehearsing it. I am safe enough to soften now. These small rituals are not small in effect. They shape climate. They teach the mind what kind of home it is living in. Let us speak now about self-trust, because without it the mind often becomes a courtroom. Every decision is retried. Every conversation is overanalyzed. Every feeling is questioned. Self-trust weakens when the mind keeps saying, I can't trust myself. Obviously. If that sentence becomes familiar, every choice feels shaky. But self-trust grows through a different inner dialogue. One that says, I may not always know instantly, but I can stay with myself while I learn. I can make choices and adjust. I can survive imperfection. I can listen inwardly without mocking what I hear. Self-trust is not certainty. It is relationship. And the mind can either strengthen that relationship or sabotage it daily. You don't build self-trust by demanding flawless intuition. You build it by not abandoning yourself after mistakes. By not using one wrong turn as proof of total incapacity. By refusing to turn learning into humiliation. The wise mind says, even here, I stay on my own side. That is profound. That is how the ground inside you becomes more stable. The mind becomes truly powerful the moment you stop asking it to control life and begin asking it to bless life instead. Control is frightened power. Blessing is mature power. Control says, predict, prevent, dominate, guarantee. Blessing says, may this moment be met with wisdom. May this relationship be held with truth. May this body receive kindness. May this work be guided. May this home carry peace. May I be present enough to choose love where I can. Can you feel the difference between those energies? Control tightens. Blessing opens. Control exhausts. Blessing restores. Control believes safety comes from domination. Blessing knows peace comes from relationship. This is one of the deepest shifts you can make with the mind. Stop trying to use it to force life into obedience. Use it to bless what is here, to orient toward what heals, to support what is becoming, to speak dignity into places that have only known pressure. That changes everything. Because once the mind begins blessing life, it also begins noticing what aligns with blessing and what doesn't. You naturally become less available for chaos, less tolerant of self-betrayal, less willing to live in conversations and environments that contradict your healing. The inner blessing creates outer clarity, not through rigidity, through resonance. Let us go now into a particularly tender area, the mind and shame. Shame is one of the most powerful distortions the mind can carry because it does not just say, I made a mistake. It says, I am the mistake. Shame collapses behavior into identity. It stains everything. It makes receiving love hard. It makes change feel impossible. It makes joy feel undeserved. It tells you to hide precisely where healing would require being seen by yourself with honesty and mercy. If shame has lived in your mind for a long time, this is for you. You are not what happened at your worst moment. You are not what someone could not properly love in you. You are not the label placed on you by someone else's pain. You are not disqualified from peace because of what you did not know then. You are not forever defined by who you were before consciousness deepened. Shame may have been loud. It may have shaped years. But it is not the deepest truth of you. The wise mind does not deny responsibility. It simply refuses to let shame become identity. It says, yes, I will repair where I can. Yes, I will learn. Yes, I will own what is mine. And no, I will not become a permanent punishment center for what has already been lived. That is not virtue. That is bondage. You are allowed to be transformed. You are allowed to be different than you were. You are allowed to stop referring to yourself by the names your pain once earned. This may be especially important if you are someone who has internalized being the strong one, the capable one, the caretaker, the fixer, the one who holds everything together. Powerful minds often become overburdened minds in this role. The inner language becomes relentless. Don't fall apart. Don't need too much. Keep going. Do more. Be better. hold them all. Don't disappoint anyone. The mind becomes an overseer. Productivity gets praised while tenderness starves. Beloved, strength without self-kindness becomes self-erasure. Using your mind wisely means refusing to confuse relentless inner pressure with love. It means saying, I can be responsible without being brutal. I can care without carrying everything. I can be dependable without disappearing from myself. I can rest without becoming worthless. I can have needs without becoming a burden. This is not selfish. It is sane. And your body will thank you for it. Your relationships will thank you for it. Your future will thank you for it. Because the life shaped by a wiser mind is not just more peaceful inwardly, it is more sustainable outwardly. It stops building from depletion. It stops treating exhaustion as normal. It stops worshiping overextension. It stops glorifying pain as proof of goodness. Now I want to return to sensitivity one more time, because the gift of your sensitivity, the very thing you thought made you weak, is precisely how you'll transform everything you touch. Sensitive minds notice patterns. They can feel inner truth quickly. They can sense what is off. They can pick up subtle beauty. They can learn the language with energy, tone, and resonance more deeply than others sometimes can. With wise stewardship, that becomes insight. It becomes compassion. It becomes artistry. It becomes healing presence. So please stop asking your mind to become less sensitive. Ask it to become more discerning, not less feeling, more guided feeling, not numbness, wisdom. This is the kind of power that blesses families, rooms, communities, and generations. Because once one person changes the language they live inside, the ripple is real. The children hear different tones. The partner feels less projection. The body receives less harm. The work comes from a different place. The home changes. The future changes. This is not abstract. This is lineage work. This is generational healing in the language of thought. If you speak to yourself with worth, you model worth. If you interrupt shame, you interrupt inheritance. If you stop rehearsing fear aloud all day, the atmosphere around you changes. If you bless your body, your relationship to embodiment changes. If you choose possibility, you widen what others feel permitted to imagine. Your mind is powerful not only for you, but through you. That is why wisdom matters so much, and wisdom often sounds quieter than fear. That is another important thing to understand. Fear shouts. Shame repeats. Urgency demands. Wisdom often says very little, but what it says has gravity. It may say, pause, or not this, or softer, or tell the truth, or rest now, or this matters, or don't abandon yourself here. Learning to hear wisdom requires making less room for the noise that constantly rehearses what harms you. That is one reason silence matters. Not as escape, as restoration, as reset. as a way of hearing what remains when the habitual thoughts are not constantly fed by stimulation. Walk without input sometimes. Sit without solving. Let your tea be just tea. Let your breath be noticed. Let your body feel the chair supporting it. Let the sky be seen. The mind that is never allowed quiet often forgets what truth feels like without performance around it. Silence is not empty. It is revealing. In silence, you may begin to hear how tired your mind has been, how repetitive, how protective, how young some of its fears still are. And in that hearing, compassion deepens, not indulgence. Compassion, the kind that says, I understand why you learned this, and I am here to guide us now. You might place a hand over your heart as you hear that. I am here to guide us now. What a powerful sentence. Try it in moments of spiral, not to shut yourself down, to re-establish wise leadership. The fear rises. The old story starts. The body tightens. And you gently say, I am here to guide us now. We do not have to go all the way down this path. We can breathe. We can choose a truer thought. We can support life here. We are not alone with this. That is reparenting in the language of the mind. So much of healing is exactly that. Learning to offer inwardly what was inconsistent, missing, or conditional before. Steadiness, tender correction, reassurance, permission, boundary, truth, warmth. The mind becomes a place where these qualities begin appearing more often, until eventually they no longer feel foreign. And once they no longer feel foreign, life looks different. You start noticing opportunities where you used to notice danger. You start setting boundaries before resentment hardens. You start resting without as much guilt. You start speaking more honestly because your mind is no longer always rehearsing rejection. You start letting joy in because suspicion is not your first response to goodness anymore. You start believing that your future does not need to mirror your oldest fear. That is what wise mental power creates. Not perfection, freedom of response. There is another open loop we should close now, and it concerns manifestation, because many people are drawn to teachings about the power of the mind through that doorway. The mind does play a role in what you create, but not in the simplistic way it is often sold. It is not about thinking a thought once and controlling outcomes like a machine. It is about identity, expectation, attention, self-permission, emotional coherence, action, receptivity, and the meanings you repeatedly live from. The mind shapes all of that. So yes, it matters enormously. But wisdom keeps you from turning manifestation into self-blame. You are co-creating with life, not dominating it. Your thoughts help shape your participation. Your beliefs influence what you notice, allow, attempt, tolerate, and persist toward. Your inner language influences whether you feel worthy of receiving, capable of beginning, able to trust, willing to be seen. That is a profound form of creation, and it is enough. You do not need magical grandiosity to honor the true power of the mind. You need sincerity, responsibility, alignment. A wiser manifestation practice sounds less like, "I demand the universe obey me," and more like, "I am becoming someone who can hold what I desire with integrity, receptivity, and love." That is powerful. That is grounded. That is sustainable. It creates not just outcomes, but capacity. And capacity is everything. Because if the mind has not grown in capacity, even good things can feel hard to receive. Love can feel suspicious. Success can trigger fear. Rest can trigger guilt. Abundance can trigger self-sabotage. Capacity grows when the mind is used wisely to create inner stability, worth, and trust. Then what comes can stay more easily. This is why the work you are doing inside matters so much, even if no one sees it, even if the outer evidence feels slow. Every time you choose a truer thought, you are building capacity. Every time you refuse to insult yourself, you are building capacity. Every time you bless your body, your future, your needs, your voice, you are building capacity. Every time you release an old interpretation and choose a wiser one, capacity grows. And capacity changes what life can become in your hands. Let us become practical now. If you truly want to use your mind wisely, create a simple living practice. First, identify the core painful thoughts that shape your days. Not all of them, just the ones that return most often. Write them down without judgment. Maybe they are about worth, safety, love, aging, money, health, belonging. Time, name them. Second, ask what each thought has been trying to protect. This matters. The thought is often not random. It is serving an old protective role. It may be trying to prevent disappointment, embarrassment, abandonment, or loss of control. Thank it for trying. Third, choose one wiser supporting thought for each pattern. Not a fantasy, a life-supporting truth. Something believable enough to practice. Something your body can start receiving. Fourth, repeat those thoughts daily at emotionally significant moments. Morning, mirror. Before difficult conversations. When old spirals begin. Before sleep. During transitions. Fifth, pair them with the body. Breathe. Touch your heart. Soften your face. Let the body know a new relationship is forming. Sixth, watch the tone of your self-talk in ordinary moments. This is where the work takes root. Spilling something, forgetting something, seeing yourself in the mirror, feeling tired, making a mistake. That is where your real devotion is revealed. And seventh, do not measure progress only by the absence of negative thoughts. Measure it by how quickly love returns, by how differently you respond, by how often you stay on your own side, by how much less time you spend living inside mental punishment. That is real progress. There may be days when old thoughts feel loud again. Do not make those days mean too much. Pattern healing is not linear. Some seasons stir old material. Stress can make old pathways louder for a while. Grief can do that. Hormones can do that. Change can do that. This is where wisdom protects you from discouragement. Instead of saying, "I'm back at the beginning," you say, "An old path is active today, and I know how to meet it differently now." That is a completely different reality. You are not where you were if you can witness what once swallowed you whole. That deserves to be honored. The mind can also be used wisely through gratitude, but again, not as performance. True gratitude is not forced brightness. It is the intentional noticing of what nourishes life. This trains attention toward support, beauty, sufficiency, and grace. It does not erase hardship. It balances perception. A mind trained only on threat becomes exhausted. A mind that notices support becomes more resilient. Not naive, resilient. So ask, what is supporting me right now? The chair, the breath, the light through the window, the friend who texted, the tea, the fact that I am still here, the lesson I can now see, the way my body has carried me this far, the roof, the moment of quiet, the willingness to keep healing. Gratitude teaches the mind that life is not only made of problems, and that changes inner chemistry too. Before we close, I want to speak to the person listening who has been afraid that their mind is simply too damaged, too anxious, too overactive, too traumatized, too old in its patterns to truly change. I see you. I honor the fatigue that makes hope feel expensive. I honor how long you may have carried inner noise. I honor the moments you wanted peace and could not reach it. I honor the courage it takes to keep searching. And I want to tell you this with all the gentleness and conviction I can. Your mind can learn a new way. Maybe not all at once. Maybe not perfectly. Maybe not without support from caring professionals, trusted practices, or deeper healing spaces where appropriate. Honor all of that. Let your care be comprehensive. But yes, your mind can learn a new way. New thoughts can become more familiar. New tones can become more natural. Your body can learn what kindness sounds like from within. Your mornings can feel different. Your future can feel less colonized by the past. Please let that settle for a moment. You are not late to this. Not at 50, not at 60, not at 70, not after heartbreak, not after illness, not after regret, not after years of private criticism, not after decades of carrying too much. The mind remains responsive to repetition, meaning, environment, and conscious love across a lifetime. What matters is not whether you began sooner, What matters is whether you are willing now, and perhaps you are. Perhaps that is why these words found you. Not to pressure you, to remind you that the conversation within you is not fixed, to remind you that awareness itself is a doorway, to remind you that every gentle correction matters, to remind you that your inner world deserves stewardship, not neglect, to remind you that power without wisdom wounds, but power guided by love heals. There comes a moment in every healing journey when you realize that changing your life is not first about changing circumstances, but about changing the conversation you allow to continue within you. That moment may be here for you now, quietly, honestly, not with fireworks perhaps, but with recognition, with readiness, with the soft but profound willingness to stop repeating what has been diminishing you. And from that willingness, a new life begins, not all at once, like dawn, like a window opening, like a room receiving fresh air after years closed, like a hand unclenching, like a river slowly remembering where it wants to go. This is your invitation now, not to become a different person overnight, but to become a wiser steward of the mind you carry, to speak inwardly in ways that support life, to notice which thoughts create dignity and which create despair, to choose repetition that heals, to question fear before handing it the future, to bless your body, your becoming, your timing, your worth, to remember that a powerful mind is not measured by how much it can control, but by how lovingly and truthfully it can participate in life. So when you leave this moment, leave with something simple. Listen to the first thought tomorrow. Listen to the tone after the next mistake. Listen to what your mind says when you see your own face. And where the old script appears, do not attack it. Meet it. Witness it. Thank it for what it once tried to do. Then offer something wiser, something truer, something kind enough for the body to believe one day. Something like, I am here to guide us now. I do not have to continue this conversation. I choose a thought that supports life. I am not my oldest fear. I am allowed to become a kinder home to live in. Those are not little things. They are the architecture of your next life. The next chapter of your life may not begin with a major event. It may begin with a sentence. A new sentence, spoken enough times with enough tenderness that your whole being begins orienting differently. A sentence that interrupts an old inheritance. A sentence that redefines what power means. A sentence that teaches your body what love sounds like when it comes from within. That is how worlds change. Quietly at first, then all at once in the ways that matter most. And when you look back months from now, perhaps you will recognize that this was the turning point. Not because every fearful thought vanished, but because you stopped serving them as faithfully, because you became more selective with your loyalty. because you no longer made a home in every painful sentence, because you learned that the mind can be guided, that love can be practiced, that wisdom can be repeated until it becomes atmosphere. This is what I want for you. Not a mind with no weather, a mind with wiser climate. Not a life with no challenges, a life no longer narrated by self-betrayal, not forced positivity, living truth, not control. Blessing. And as you move forward, something may begin to shift in ways you cannot predict yet. A little more spaciousness around fear, a little less appetite for self-criticism, a little more ability to pause before believing the old story, a little more tenderness in the mirror, a little more trust in your own presence. These are sacred signs. Honor them. They are how the new path becomes real. Your heart already knows this. You were never meant to use your mind as a weapon against yourself. You were meant to use it as a channel of creation, meaning, blessing, and wise choice. You were meant to let it serve your healing. You were meant to let it speak life more often than fear. You were meant to stop calling old pain wisdom. You were meant to become someone whose inner voice sounds more and more like love. And love, when spoken often enough, becomes home. So breathe here. Feel the breath moving through your chest. Notice that you are still here. Notice that awareness is still here. Notice that choice is still here. Notice that life has not finished with you. There is still time for new language, still time for gentler thoughts, still time for healing to become more embodied, still time for the future to be shaped by something other than your oldest fear. Still time for your mind to become a beautiful servant of the life that is trying to bloom through you. Let that be enough for today. Not everything solved. Just one wiser thought, one kinder sentence, one moment of not following the old path all the way, one act of inward blessing, one pause before the familiar wound becomes the whole room again. That is how peace enters. That is how power matures. That is how the mind learns wisdom. And that wisdom, once rooted, will touch everything. The way you wake, the way you rest, the way you speak, the way you age, the way you love, the way you forgive, the way you trust your becoming, the way you carry yourself through uncertainty, the way you stand beside your own heart, the way you allow life to meet you. So take this with you like a quiet lamp. Not every thought deserves your loyalty, and not every fear deserves your future. Return to that. Let it interrupt. Let it guide. Let it remind you that the mind is powerful, yes, and power is most beautiful when used with tenderness. You do not have to think perfectly to live beautifully. You do not have to erase your humanity to know peace. You do not have to win against yourself to become whole. You simply begin here, with awareness, with compassion, with wise repetition, with the willingness to make your inner world a kinder place to live. And from there, life responds. Slowly, deeply, truthfully, like dawn arriving without force, like water finding its path, like a long-closed room filling with air again. You are not broken. You never were. You have been carrying this. And now perhaps you are ready to carry it differently.